Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. Um, First thing I'm going to ask is, can you hear me okay? I was just getting my earplugs situated and um, hoping that you can hear me. So let me know. And if you can't, then I will change things. Oh, good. Thank you. It looks like people can hear. Yay. All right. Awesome. Uh, Finally, technology works, right? So, why don't we all, as we're all coming on here, so far it looks like there's about 100 of us so far. Go ahead and share where you're from. Uh, Share, say hello, introduce yourself. It'd be really good to. I love this beginning part is always fun while we're waiting because we get to see all the places and it's really neat. It's you realize that the internet has okay, so I'm old. I'm a grandmother, but we didn't have the internet when I was a kid. We didn't even have calculators. And the internet has opened up this whole new world, right? It's really cool. So New Jersey, Maine, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Missouri, the UK, London, wow, Montana, Louisiana, grandma. I was Dax. It's so I hear it's beautiful there right now. Jacksonville. Oh gosh, you guys coming out of the hurricane. I hope that it wasn't too bad for you. Uh, Wisconsin and Texas. Wow. Organic dairy goats in the Midwest. Nice. Dublin, California. Great. Um, yeah, I love the goats. We just recently found a little farm near here, and they have goats, and they sell the goat milk and make cheese, and it's so good. Um, Best cheese ever. Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We're at almost 150 people over here, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in. I don't want to waste your time, um, and we have it's going to be a fun little plant talk that we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start the workshop. Oops, not what I want to do. Um, there we go. You know what? Before I start, well, I'll share. I've got a picture for you guys. I was going to share that, but I think I'll wait and see how much time we have at the end. Um, so I'll just tell you what the picture is of, and then we can talk about it uh, if you want to later on. But I got this email from a lady, oh, in Canada, BC, Canada. Hi, Lori. And this lady was in Saskatchewan, Canada. But she emailed me and she said, I cannot find any medications for my baby. And I guess the baby had fevers and having a bad cold and couldn't find medications. And she says, can you please tell me what I can do? Hi, Texas and in California. So I gave her some suggestions, of course. And then it dawned on me, gosh, see, I don't ever go to the drugstore aisle or the medicine aisle in the grocery stores. I don't have to because we make our medicine. Anyway, I just thought, well, I have to pick up a few things at the store. So we live in a really small town, so I ran down the hill to our local store, and the shelves were empty in the medicine aisle, or almost. There was a lot of things gone. And that really made me feel a little worried for people and very happy that I'm in the situation I'm in. And then the next day, my husband and I were going to the bigger city about an hour and a half away to pick up feed and things like that. And I asked him, I said, can we go into Albertsons, which is a large, large grocery store in the city? And we went into the Albertsons, and lo and behold, it was empty too. It was just like the medicines were gone, and there was another woman in the same aisle loudly talking about how there was nothing to buy, and I felt really bad. But I have to say, not only were the medicines gone, they were super expensive. like $37 for one of them, just a common over the counter item. So I don't know if this is how it is where you're at, but here in North Idaho, evidently, we're having supply issues too, and it really worried me. But anyway, that's all on an aside. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about 5 easy to find herbs that you can actually use for cold and flu, and easy herbal remedies to help your family out. And I'll tell you what, it was really, really hard to find or to narrow down 5 herbs because there are so many common herbs that you can use and share with your family for their health. But I decided to go with the 5 that I did because you can grow them very easily, even indoors. Most of them indoors. Some of them you can't. But you can definitely grow them between your garden and a pot inside. You can find all of them in the grocery store, fresh, dried, however. And the essential oils for these are not expensive. So I chose these 5, and that's why I chose them. All right, so I want to just say this time is just for you. You're here to learn, and what I want you to do is try to be distraction free if you can, and really dig into the plants with your mind. It's really exciting. I have a gift for you for being here. It's a digital guide. It's 29 pages. I'm pretty sure 29 pages. Yeah. And it's on all of the information that I'm going to share here today. Plus, I've got recipes and remedies in here for you too. So you can actually uh, start making the things that you need right now, or at least some of them. All righty. So I'm going to share that link with you at the end. And then I just want to say, if you've got a question, feel free to ask anytime. And my husband is sitting over here. He's going to try to answer. And I will scroll back up the chat as much as I can at the end and answer questions as well. And we'll just open it up for more questions at the end too. But I want you to know that you can ask questions. And as for a replay, somebody's having trouble with the signal. Yes, there will be a replay of this too. So if you have to go or if you have to sign off, it's okay. But there will be a replay. But with that said, you know what I've discovered over the years of either and creating online courses and also going to online courses, there's a lot more energy when you're live, and being there live is really the best way. So anyway, for those of you who don't know me, some of you know me well, some of you don't know me at all. Quick introduction here. I'm Heidi Villegas, and I own and teach and write and share information at Healing Harvest Homestead. And I have a website, I have a YouTube channel, and also I have a school. The school is the HHH School of Botanical Arts and Sciences, and it's growing, and I love it. I love teaching. I am a community and clinical herbalist, and I'm also a certified professional level aromatherapist, board certified with NAHA and AIA. I'm a gardener. I'm a plant lover. I have tons of animals, which I love. And I am a grandma to hopefully one day some budding herbalists. And this is my little granddaughter, Malia, who came to visit. We were picking chamomile that day. And so that's a little bit about me. And I'm going to just share with you how I used to be. And I'm going to ask you if this sounds like you. And if it does, give me a yes in the chat if this sounds like you. Um, so this was me a long, long time ago. All right. I grew up with, like everybody does in these modern days, with the pill mentality and with the idea that if you were even a little bit sick, you had to go to the doctor or you had to go get medicine and you had to take a pill. So when I started having children back in the 1980s, um, I, as a new mom, you start thinking about what you're putting in your kids' bodies. You know what I mean? So I knew I wanted to give my children and my family the best that I could, but I was worried that I would mess up and poison somebody if I tried anything outside of the norm of the over-the-counter medicines. I really wanted independence from big pharma, but I didn't know how to get there. And tell me if you're like this. You want more control and empowerment over your family's health choices. It's like when I walked into the grocery store the other day, I don't have to worry about any of those products, but I know other people do, and it's scary. And when you have that knowledge, you've got empowerment. I wanted that so badly back then. And also, you want to save some money. Prices are so high right now, and $37 for an over the counter drug, I could not believe my eyes. But saving money, a tincture, literally, and a herbal tea, or all these herbal preparations, like a salve right here that I foraged for the uh, cottonwood buds in the spring. It contains pain relieving agents. You can make this for pennies on the dollar. It's amazing. So I'm not spending $37 on anything. Um, Anyway, one day I had an epiphany, and I was in my probably late 30s, early 40s at this point, and I realized that I just woke up because I felt bad, and I woke up to the fact that um, I was taking over the counter drugs to get to sleep. I was taking drugs to wake up in the morning, including coffee and energy drinks, and I was taking things to deal with any discomforts, and I was on different prescription drugs at that time too for a number of different ailments, skin care, antibiotics for the skin care, yeast infection medications from the antibiotics for the skin care. I mean, heart medications, pain. I was on oxycodone and Xanax for anxiety. And I mean, I was a mess, you guys. I was a real mess. But I woke up one day and I knew why I felt so bad. It was all of the chemicals that I was putting in my body, and that I thought were fine because that's what I grew up learning, right? Like all of us. And then I discovered herbalism. I happened into a feedlot one day, and there was a book sitting there, a little strange, an herbalism book. And I picked it up, and I had a feeling that I should buy it. And so I did. And I started making tinctures. And lo and behold, they worked. And I was so thrilled and so excited about that. It changed my life. I also discovered aromatherapy at about the same time, but the essential oils were a little more difficult for me to use. I felt a little better about the herbs at that time, and now I do both. But anyway, I still remember that moment that I drew that line in the sand and I went completely natural. All right. It was probably about a year into my herbalism studies. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to not take anything anymore unless I, absolutely have to. Never say never. And it's not that I don't believe in medicine, allopathic medicine with the medical doctors and things. I think they're wonderful for diagnosing, but really we can take care of a lot of things ourselves. And that's what I wanted to do. Anyway, what happened was I began to feel better and better and better. And over time, my body healed up, my mind became clear, I felt better, the pains went away, my skin cleared up. It was amazing. So, right now, you guys, these are the things, just some of them that I don't have to deal with anymore. Rosacea acne, which, by the way, is part of a problem that happens. There's a number of reasons, but if your liver is struggling, a lot of times it presents in skin issues. L4, L5 disc problems in my back, constant yeast infections and UTIs. I mean, it was pretty gross. I'm so sorry, TMI, but I was a school teacher back then, and school teachers get UTIs. Then we go get antibiotics. The antibiotics mess up our gut. We get yeast infections, and then we're treating that too. It was a big cycle of viciousness. Side effects from the pills, inability to sleep. I don't deal with that anymore. Grogginess in the morning, an upset stomach, gas and bloating, and very extreme anxiety. What happens when you don't feel good is you get anxious, and anxiety contributes to you being sick too. Anyway, also on top of all those things, we've saved literally thousands of dollars over the years. I put $20,000 here, and from all the way back when I first started. And Joe told me, he says, Heidi, it's probably more like 40,000. So we had a discussion about that one time. I don't know. I hate to. That sounds like over the top, but maybe it is. But really, we don't buy medicines anymore. We are medically self-reliant. I know what's exactly in our medicines because I make them myself. It's all natural and wonderful. And I know that when I'm working with my grandchildren, when they come to visit and they need something, I'm giving them something good. I don't have to have that cringy feeling in my stomach when I pull down aspirin, which does not exist in my house at all, and give a baby a pill. No, 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 not anymore. And this is the best thing of all, you guys. I am leaving a legacy for my own children and my grandchildren one day. They're going to have this knowledge that I have. They're going to have all of my herbal books, and what a gift to them. So, anyhow, what's ahead when you start learning herbalism? You're going to feel confident and safe in your herbal choices. You're going to be prepared for problems. You are going to experience true healing, and you're not just you guys. The medical big pharma system is all about masking symptoms. It's all about, you don't feel good, you have a headache, so you go to the doctor. They give you something to cover the pain, but your body doesn't heal. So it's over and over, and they want it like that because it's all about the money. Anyway, you get to empower your health choices, and you save a lot of money. And these things are true. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. I know you're here being interested in learning herbalism and aromatherapy because that's what this is about. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, right? But tell me if this is true for you. I know when I first started learning herbalism, that the time was a lot different. Back then there was very little information. These days there's too much, and sometimes it's conflicting. But there are roadblocks to learning. One of them is that online sources can't always be trusted. I cannot tell you how many times I've run across recipes online that are unsafe, and it just is horrifying to me. Um, the information isn't organized or easy to find either. Like, you have to do Google searches. And by the way, now, ever since 2018, Google had what they call a medic update. They changed the whole search when it comes to natural health and wellness. And so if you search information on an herb, you no longer will see practicing herbalists come up in the search. I used to be on the front page of a lot of searches, and now no, because what they've done is they've shoved us all down. And what do you see? Test this out. What you're going to find are the medical sites. And the medical sites have people who are just out of college. They're researchers. They're not practicing herbalists, and they are writing about herbs. And that's what you're going to find. So it's getting harder and harder to get information out there now, too. There's a lot of information. It's overwhelming. Many people don't know where to start. Tell me if this is you. Do any of these match up? And if any of them do, tell me what you think, because I want to know if you're experiencing what I'm experiencing here as well. Give me a yes on this, if any of these match. Um, you don't know where to start. Which herbal preparations are the best to use? Somebody asked here, is that the same thing with YouTube? It is, to an extent. YouTube's a little bit better. But I'll tell you what, I had a woman, one of my students actually, she got some recipes off of YouTube, and she had some terrible reactions. And then she wrote to me and said, what do I do about this? And I said, well, what were you using? And she told me, and I told her, I said, I'm so sorry, but that recipe's terrible, and let's do this instead. So I gave her some other options. But my goodness, you just can't trust a lot of people giving information unless they've been trained, and most people haven't. Um, the homesteaders are big on this. They are, what do you call it? Um, Jacks of all trades and masters of none. And they might take one little herbalism class, and now all of a sudden they're teaching a cold and flu class and they don't understand the immune system. Anyway, that's a pet peeve of mine. You always are questioning, do they work? That was a big question I used to have. I was always afraid. Like, I had a tincture, my very first tincture. I remember, I'm like, what if it doesn't work? Do you wonder if it will really work? Time. Do you have enough time to do this? What about the cost? How do you talk your family into going natural? These are all some of the roadblocks that people encounter when they start learning herbs. And it's so helpful to have somebody there. I know when I first started, tell me why you showed up today, you guys. Put that in the chat. Why did you show up here today? But I know, for me, when I first started, luckily I didn't have to talk anybody into trying my natural stuff because I'd been pretty natural all along, as much as I could, with cooking and things like that. So my kids kind of already knew me. Joe was totally on board. But all the other things were hard, really hard. In fact, my first course was a snail mail course. It was a correspondence course because I couldn't go to a school and travel thousands of miles to learn herbalism back then. And there weren't any online courses back when I started. Yep, to learn about the herbs for the goats. Yep, you can definitely use herbs and essential oils on animals. I'm certified in animal aromatherapy, as a matter of fact. Yep, trying to become more self-reliant. Definitely, yes, getting a fair amount of resistance from the family. I'm sorry, Kay. I'll tell you what, though, I hear this from my students all the time. They start learning going down this path, and when their family members realize that the stuff works, all of a sudden they're on board. Chronic inflammation, yeah, leave the prescriptions behind if you can. Um, I'm ready. That's why I showed up. Good, Diane. It's time. It's really time. Can I tell you another story that happened? Just this morning, I got an email from a man who keeps track of the warning letters that the FDA sends out. And they have a new task force now that started when President Biden came into office. He signed some kind of executive order. But right now, they're on this kind of a manhunt for herbalists who are sharing information about the C word. Okay, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you know what that is. I'm afraid to say it online because they're searching people out right now, and they're sending warning letters to people. And that's why I say the time to learn is right now, because the information, they're trying to take the information from us, because herbalism is experiencing this resurgence. Big pharma is afraid. Um, so yeah, definitely. Anyway, you can have better health for you and your family. And you guys, it seems overwhelming and hard, but really it's not. And I'm going to show you right now about 5 herbs that do all kinds of things. These are broad use herbs, and they have chemicals in them. That's why they work. It's not magic. It's about the phytochemistry of the plant, but they work together and they can do amazing things in your body. Okay. So we're going to start with thyme. And I've got some thyme here. I know I'm very small in the camera, but this is my thyme from the garden. Thyme is very easy to grow. You can also buy it fresh in the grocery store. And if you can't get it fresh, it's okay to use dried. Dried is fine too. And you can buy this in the grocery store. I love the smell of thyme. And guess what? It also comes in essential oil form. And I have 2 different kinds here because the chemicals in essential oils can actually differ a little bit, even with the same plant. And one of these is relaxing, and one of these is highly medicinal. So it's pretty neat. But thyme is in the family Lamiaceae, so it's a mint. The family Lamiaceae are all the mints, and you use the leaves. The energetics are warming and drying. So if you are a cold person, thyme might be a nice thing to add to your tea. But here are some of the actions, and these are medical actions. And I'll define them a little bit, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. But then we're going to dig into what the herb can actually be used for. So it's antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiseptic, carminative. That means it's a digestive. It's a diaphoretic. It helps with fevers. It's an antispasmodic. It's an expectorant. It's an emmenagogue, and emmenagogue means it's helpful for periods. It's a vermifuge, so it's antiparasitic. That means it gets rid of worms. And it's an aromatic. And any plant that has aromatic chemicals or volatile chemicals can present or give essential oil or hydrosols. And you can make hydrosols right in your kitchen, by the way. Essential oils is another matter, but you can definitely make hydrosols. Oh, Cindy, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Cindy, share in the chat some of your successes if you want to, Cindy. Yeah, it's amazing what students can accomplish. Anyway, get this. These are just some of the uses for thyme. Infections, cold and flu symptoms, including coughs, urinary tract infections, yeast infections, topical fungal infections, um, like ringworm, for example, dyspepsia, stomach aches, healing wounds and cuts, soothing burns, congestion, oral care, inflammation, and we just mentioned menstrual cramps. I have to say, when I have an animal with a problem like an eye issue, I've used this actually on my baby goats before, and thyme and golden seal, or thyme and sage together, make a wonderful wash for the eye. And my little baby goat's infection went right away. But I really like using thyme also in mouthwashes, infusing it in honey. It's wonderful in teas. I have a friend who takes thyme every single day and he's never sick. So uh, just a little thought on that. The next herb we're going to talk about, you guys, is chamomile. Chamomile is also easy to grow in the garden. These are some fall sprigs. If the season for chamomile is pretty much over here. I've got a little California poppy here too that was growing in there when I picked it. But German chamomile reseeds itself very easily, and you can use that for all kinds of things as well. You can dry it yourself, or you can buy it dried. You can buy it from bulk herb stores, or you can actually just buy the tea bags in the grocery store. And yes, it has an essential oil. Both Roman and German chamomiles have wonderful essential oils, and I use them all the time. So, chamomile is in the Asteraceae family. That's the aster family, and you use the flowers. And it's a cooling and drying herb. It's an aromatic, which means it contains essential oils. It's a nervine, which means it helps. It acts on the nervous system, and chamomile acts on the nervous system in a way that is relaxing. It's a carminative for digestion. It is excellent, by the way, for babies' colic. One of the best things for little babies. It's a diaphoretic for hot fevers. It's a mild sedative. I love that, Jennifer. Big Pharma should be afraid. God is awesome. Oh, you know what? I feel a rant coming on. I'm just going to say one quick little thing about that. Big pharma and scientists, they take one chemical out of a plant and they sell it as a medicine, and then you have side effects. Okay, when you use a real herb or plant that God made, like willow bark or cottonwood buds or meadowsweet, for example, all which can be substituted for aspirin because of the chemicals in the plant. What happens is that you take the whole plant into your body, the chemicals interact together synergistically, which means they work as a whole, okay? And you get better results and you don't have the side effects. And I'm speaking in generalities, of course, but it's really pretty amazing. God made things perfectly for us. There you go. All right. Chamomile is also a mild sedative. Yeah, back to the plants, right? It's an antispasmodic, it's a vulnerary, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it's really helpful for sore muscles and just a lot of issues like that if you know how to use it. Uses for chamomile. I love using chamomile with children who have ADHD or who lack focus. It's also helpful for adults. Chamomile acts on the brain and nervous system in a way that helps the brain focus while relaxing the body. So if you are a person who's just type A, you're always going and you're running everywhere and your brain's like, everywhere, chamomile can really be helpful. Irritability. It's great for even kids who, are cranky. Give them a little chamomile. Restlessness, insomnia, digestion. Now, if you're using chamomile for insomnia, you're going to use a little bit different than you will during the daytime for focus. Okay. But gas and bloating, hot, wet fevers, chamomile is really helpful with. Colds and flu symptoms, teething, colic, burns and skin healing, conjunctivitis, great for the eyes, eye infections, and rashes. So I love working with German chamomile. It's one of my favorite essential oils, actually, to use in preparations for arthritis and joint pains. Oh, thank you, Sheila. Yeah. Um, yeah, you guys read Cindy's comment here. It's pretty amazing what she's accomplished, really. Uh, yeah, I just can't even believe it sometimes. Ginger, you guys, is wonderful. So I've got a big plug of ginger here from the store. This came from the store. I've grown ginger in pots in my home. Right now, I don't have any growing, but got to get back to that. And that's what I'm going to use some of these little knobs for. I'm going to plant them. Um, Ginger comes in cut and sifted form like this. You may not have seen it like this. Um, you can get this from bulk herb stores like Star West Botanicals. You can get most of your medicinal herbs from bulk herb stores, grocery store, powdered ginger, and of course it is an aromatic, so you've got the essential oil, which is really wonderful. Sorry, I love to smell my plants. Ginger is from the family Zingiberaceae, and that is the same family that turmeric and other rhizomes, finger root, gondi root. There's a few that are medicinal in this family. And the part you use is the rhizome. That some people call it a root, but it's not exactly a root. It's a rhizome, and it is warming and hot and drying. Many herbalists just say it's warming and drying. I actually find that depending on the preparation you're using, it can actually be a hot herb energetically. So I really like it for cold conditions. It's an aromatic, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's a diaphoretic for a dry fever. It's an expectorant. It stimulates your lungs. It helps get rid of mucus. It's a carminative. It's an analgesic, which means it's pain relieving. It's antimicrobial. It's a circulatory enhancer. It's really helpful for the circulatory system. That means it's good for your heart. It's a vermifuge also. It kills worms, and it's a rubefacient. So if you have, oh, thank you, Cindy. If you have a condition on your skin that's maybe you've got a wound, or you have cold sore joints, for example, applying ginger in certain preparations like salves can be really helpful. What you're doing is you heat up the area and you bring blood to the area. Yeah, Paige says she drinks ginger tea almost every morning for digestion and inflammation issues. Yep, awesome. It is good for nausea. It's amazing. Um, it's really good for nausea. In fact, it's really helpful for with kids. If you have kids who are car sick, put a little bit of diluted lavender and ginger essential oil behind their ears, or give them, if they're old enough, a little like a nickel-sized plug of this to tuck in their cheek. It works for adults too. Really helpful for nausea. So here's some uses besides nausea: arthritis, muscle pain and sore muscles, migraine headaches, cold and flu symptoms, nausea, gut health. It balances your gut. It's really helpful to take along with your pre and probiotics, really. Menstrual cramping. It's really helpful as a massage oil or a rub. The tea can be helpful too, but I really love it in the essential oil form for this. Ear infections, circulatory enhancers. It's also really, well, I just mentioned it's good for the heart. Inflammation, stomach flu, and fevers. All right, moving on to garlic. Garlic, I love. It's kind of stinky, but boy, it sure works for a lot of things. So here's the garlic from the garden. And here is dried garlic from the store. So you can get it in that form. I just want to show you this. This is one of the ways I love to store garlic. This is actually fresh garlic. And what I do is I put it in white vinegar and I keep it in the fridge and I cook with it. And I cook with it almost every single day. But this is one of my favorite ways to store it and use it because it tastes delicious. And you can use the vinegar in your salad dressings and things too. Um, let's see. So garlic is in the family Oliaceae, so the same family as onions and other bulb type plants, chives, leeks, and things like that. You use the bulb and the scapes. The scapes are the top green leaves, and garlic is warming and drying. It's a circulatory stimulant. In fact, garlic, besides cooking with it almost every single day, I actually take garlic in a supplement form because it's really good for the heart. It's an alterative, and you might think that that's spelled wrong. A lot of people think that I'm talking about an alternative. No, it's an alterative herb. And an alterative is a very special category of herbs. What an alterative does is it gets into your body and it does what it's supposed to do. All right. So in the case of garlic, for example, it is a circulatory stimulant, and it's also calming to the blood pressure. So it can actually open up the veins a little bit. So it's helpful in that way for low blood pressure and high blood pressure both. It just does what it needs to do in your body. And I love alternative herbs. There aren't that many of them. I actually, if you're interested in learning more about those, I wrote a blog post on my website years and years ago about them. But you can go ahead and check that out. So garlic is a diaphoretic. It means it helps with fevers. It's an expectorant, antimicrobial, carminative. It's an immunomodulant. And I just want to mention here, so with the immune system, actually in our Herbally Accomplished workshops this season for the fall, we studied the immune system in September and went over all of these terms. But an immunomodulating herb balances your immune system. So if you have an autoimmune issue, it's helpful. An immunomodulating herb can be helpful. If you have an underactive immune system and you're always getting sick, then an immunomodulating herb can be very, very helpful for getting your immune system back on par. And then you've got your immunostimulants and your immunosuppressants, those that stimulate the immune system, like echinacea, and some herbs will suppress your immune system so it doesn't overact. But garlic happens to be a modulator. It's a vermifuge, which means it helps with worms, and it's a tonic. A tonic is an herb that can be taken every single day safely. Okay. And then uses for garlic: hypertension, that's high blood pressure, bacterial infections, fungal infections. It helps to balance cholesterol levels. It's really wonderful for that. Cold and flu symptoms, congestion, bad yeast and bacteria overgrowth in the gut. Garlic and ginger are two of my very, very favorite herbs to take for gut health, really. Digestion, diarrhea, worms, insulin resistance. It helps to balance the blood sugar, and it can help with asthma. All right, we're going to move on to the next plant here, and that is sage. I'm sorry, you guys. The comments are. I'm trying to look at the comments and this too, and I will get back to the comments. I'll try to get over here and answer all these questions. So sage, you guys, this is just regular garden sage right out of my garden. Salvia officinalis. And by the way, I always get this question. I'm going to turn off my nebulizer here. Um, So, are all the sages interchangeable? The answer is no. Okay, they're not interchangeable at all. The salvias are a very large group of plants, and there's many different species, and so you want to be working with the appropriate species. And this is just your typical garden sage that you put on your Thanksgiving turkey that you can find in the grocery store, fresh or dried. And it also has amazing medicinal uses. Here's some dried sage from our garden and essential oil. Sage also has essential oil, and I love using this. In fact, I use sage often in the essential oil form for my memory and for my focus and thinking. So when I'm working at my desk, I'll share the blend I was just diffusing before I turned it off. I love diffusing rosemary, sage, lemon, and coriander. That combination is so helpful for when you have to do some hard thinking. Anyway, back to sage. It's an aromatic, obviously, because we have the essential oil. It's an astringent. So, an astringent tightens and tones the tissues. So, I love astringents when you have wet, lax, or hot conditions like sore throats. Sage is wonderful. It just tightens that inflammation right up. It's a carminative, it's a diaphoretic, it's an antiseptic, it's a circulatory stimulant, it's an antispasmodic for smooth muscle, which would be like your stomach and your uterus. Another thing that sage does, even though it's more of a warming herb, it's really great for hot flashes. A lot of women love to start drinking sage tea, especially if you get the sweaty hot flashes. Sage can be really helpful for, making them go away. By the way, so can black cohosh. So that's not an herb we're talking about today, but sage and black cohosh together are really, really helpful. Coming from someone who knows. All right, uses for sage: sore throat, oral care, anything to do with the mouth. It's really great for canker sores and things like that too. Excessive sweating, infections, digestion, diabetes support, toothache, sore muscles, high cholesterol. cognitive health. There have been actually a lot of clinical studies recently on sage with Alzheimer's patients, and they're finding that sage is very, very helpful. Liver complaints, cold and flu symptoms, and sage actually helps with your energy levels too. It's a bit of a stimulating herb, and I'm sorry, I've got a pedal in my keyboard here, but it's really, really helpful. Just to help you wake up a little bit. Sage combined with peppermint, even in the a diffuser, is so wonderful and energizing. Or sage, rosemary, and peppermint. For you guys, herbs work. This is just 5 common herbs, and when you look at all the thousands of medicinal herbs that we have available to us now, especially since we have this big global market, um, we can handle most of our health issues at home if we know what to do. So I want to just talk about the struggle to use herbs successfully. Give me a yes if you've ever had a problem and you tried to use herbs and it didn't work. Has that happened to any of you? Go ahead and write in the chat if it has. I know for me, I'm going to talk about this was years and years and years and years ago, probably in my 30s. I heard that holy basil was really helpful for emotional health. And by the way, I'm a person who struggled for many years with depression, anxiety, and um, basically went through self-medicating phases and just some really horrors. But I had heard that holy basil worked and helped with the mind. And then the 90s came along and everybody was talking about St. John's wort. Use St. John's wort for depression. Well, it doesn't work like that. It helps with depression and your mind, but it doesn't really work like that. So I went to the store anyway back then and I got a bottle of holy basil. I did not realize that you could grow holy basil right in your garden. I was growing vegetables for years for food. Didn't realize you could grow it. And so I got these old stale capsules off of the market shelves and they didn't do anything to help me. And I didn't know why back then. I do now. There are a few reasons, and I wrote an article about this too. But basically, you have to know what you're doing with the herb, and you also have to know, what to. You have to know what to do with them. And I'm sorry, I got distracted by the comments, all in caps here. How come all the information about the herbs isn't in the 5 herbs for your home apothecary, like what their uses are? Oh, Polly, they are. They're in the book, and the recipes. There's recipes in there as well. Okay. So you're going to get all that information. Anyhow, when you guys start using herbs, there's so much information and there's overwhelm. And on top of that, we are all coming to herbalism with what I call the pill mentality. Okay. And the pill mentality is basically where we were taught as children, so it's not our fault, but we were taught that if you don't feel good or if you have a problem, you go and take a pill, right? I mean, that's where all of us are. And herbs don't work like pills. They just don't. They heal your body. And although they can definitely help with symptoms and things like headaches and aches and pains and arthritis and back pain, and I could go on and on and on. But they actually, even though they're helping the symptoms, they actually go to work and they get into the body and they help us heal. And that's where some people can actually get off some of their prescriptions. That's what happened with me. So there's a whole lot to learn. And then the thing is, you have to ask who you trust. And I'm going to just say here, I have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I've probably spent what it would cost to buy a car, a new car on herbal education at this point in my life, if I were to add up all of it through all the years. And I have found in my coursework that some herbalists approach herbalism from a kind of a new age stance, and some of them aren't trained very well, and some of them are doing strange things. And so I have figured out who I like to trust and who I get my information from. And by the way, I'm still taking classes. I think herbalism, once you get into it, you just want to keep learning it. You will never know everything. But anyway, it is hard to know who to trust. So you need to figure out which herbs are best for you, and a real person can help you do that. You're not going to find that out from a book, unfortunately. You are going to, I talk to people who say, well, I've been studying herbalism for 20 years, and what they've been doing is reading books, and yet that's not real study. You can't be an armchair herbalist. That's what Michael Moore, who's a great herbalist, calls people who learn only from books. You have to do it. And it's best if you can do it in community with real people. You can't learn everything either. So what you have to do is figure out what you need to focus on. Okay. It's from different places. So we all have different families. So what Matt here will focus on is going to be different than what I'm going to focus on, for example. But I want to share some information about Matt. So after he put his home apothecary together, he was able to completely stop taking his allergy meds. And that happened during the course of Ditch the Drugstore. And he went through it. I think it was the first or maybe the second round. But his doctor then told him that he didn't have to go on meds for hypertension anymore either. Now, I know he made some lifestyle changes on top of using herbs and essential oils for his wellness. But when you are looking at your body as a whole system holistically, you are more able to make good decisions about your wellness. And basically, you can make massive, great changes quickly using herbs and essential oils. And he says this: keep an open mind and be willing and ready for life changing results. And he takes his herbs and essential oils every single day. Another problem people have when they start learning herbs and herbalism is, and this was me right here, a lack of a structured plan. It's like you die. Is anybody in this place where you really want to learn and you've started and you don't really have a plan? It's like you kind of like go at it like, okay, I have allergy issues. And then you make something for allergies. And then you feel like, okay, I want to deal with this bad cold. Or, um, you know, I have high blood pressure. How do I deal with my high blood pressure? And so you're kind of randomly picking and choosing all these things. The fact is that we need a structured plan. We need to have, and people, a real person can help. So, you guys, planning a real medicine chest for your whole family is a challenge. Some of us are just going to be working on ourselves, right? And then others of us have families. We might have babies and toddlers and teenagers. I have one student, she's got 5 teenage boys, and they hurt themselves all the time. Um, some of us are taking care of elders. I'm taking care of my mother, who's 82, and you need to know how to approach these different people. You need a way to organize and plan exactly what you need for your unique home. Having structure keeps you from paralysis by analysis. And I got that from one of my students, Anne. She actually was a member of my herbal membership for a while. And she ended up signing up for Ditch the Drugstore. And she said to me, I'm so glad I did this because I finally was able to take some action. And she admitted to me that she hadn't taken any action and hadn't made anything in the tribe, but because she didn't know what to do or where to start. So I gave her that roadmap. Anyway, you want to stay away from it being overwhelming and keep it mentally relaxing and fun. Herbalism should be fun. It's a creative process and it's wonderful. And the other thing is that you don't need all the herbs. You just need the ones your family needs. And so I help you figure that out. Okay. Here's Cindy. Cindy was in the chat. I don't know if she's still here because I know she works, but Cindy had, I'll tell you, I'm just going to tell you how my reaction was when she shared. So in of the 6 to 8 weeks. And I remember, I think this was the first or second round, but Cindy, in graduation day, my students share, and they share their apothecaries and they share their results. And Cindy got on there and she says, I was able to get off this medicine and that medicine and this medicine and that medicine. And I was like, oh, because, I don't want to make it sound like you have to get off your meds, you guys. If you're on prescription meds, you need to do it safely. And so I asked her, I said, Cindy, you did this with a doctor's approval, right? She says, yep. I definitely did it safely, and I went through. She had a really good doctor, and he actually was very supportive of her efforts to wean herself off all of these medications. Anyway, she took ditch the drugstore. Her confidence in her herbal journey exploded. And I have to tell you, she has dived into her studies and is amazingly knowledgeable at this point. And she's a researcher. She's in the group and she really enjoys helping people. And we all appreciate her so much. But anyway, she has what she needs ready to go when she needs them. And she's sharing with her friends and family. Her son is on board, which I think is so amazing, and she has such a better quality of life now. And I just want to say, that better quality of life thing, that is not, um, specific only to Cindy or me. It's pretty much everybody I know who's gotten into learning herbalism. And I'm hearing here, yeah, you're never too old to learn. Never. You're never too old to learn. And then here's another hang up that causes people not to start, fear of not having enough time or money. And I just want to say here, you can actually make your herbal preparations like this glycerite or this salve or this infused oil, calendula infused oil, actually, it's beautiful. This hawthorn tincture, this spray, roller bottles, all kinds of great things. A facial serum. There's all kinds of things you can make with your herbs, but they don't take very long. Um, it takes about 5 minutes to make an herbal tincture. It has to macerate and steep for about 6 weeks, but your actual hands-on time is 5 minutes. It's just really amazing. So don't let the time thing hang you up. And the other thing is that I personally believe, and this is because I struggled in the beginning of this with me. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have anybody to ask questions of. I believe you need a community, and I believe that the teacher needs to be there to answer questions, and other herbalists and aromatherapists too. Because if you don't have anybody to ask questions of, and you will have questions, you're kind of stuck, and that's not good. So I really, really believe that in giving that support. But you guys, let's face it. This is the thing. Anything worth learning or doing requires some kind of time or money investment. You don't get anything for nothing, right? You have to invest some time. You have to invest some money into your education if you want to. So, like I just said, I've spent thousands of dollars on courses, and I tell you what, it's been worth it, but not all of them have been worth it. And I've been annoyed a couple of times where I've spent over $1,000 on a course, and it was just a big disappointment. So I try to keep my courses very reasonable, and even have payment plans. But anyway, you need to find a program where you can achieve the useful and practical information you need without spending an arm and a leg. But the fact is, you are going to have to spend some money. Um, and I've shared courses for free with people before, and I'll be honest, unless you have skin in the game, most people won't take advantage of the learning. It's if you pay for something, you're likely to use it and do it. Um, Herbalism can be learned in the very margins of your life. So, one of the things I used to do was if I knew I wanted to try making a different tincture one day, I would have all my herbs set up in the kitchen. And while I was making dinner, I would just quickly put together that tincture. And it was just a matter of doing a little planning ahead. Um, Oh, Karen says, "You're wonderful, Heidi." Well, thank you. So helpful. I haven't been here very long at all yet, but I'm learning a lot already. Yeah, that's what I want you guys to do. You get into the student community and you start going through the course materials and you start learning it, and it grows. And the more you learn, the more you learn. Um, Here's another student. This is Amy. And Amy says that she's been able to replace her inhaler, which she took twice a day, for a simple, safe tincture. This was early on in her herbal journey, by the way. She's done more since then. That being said, she says, I have not had to take my inhaler for a year now. At this point, it's been well over a year. This has not only helped her not put harmful steroids in her body, but it's also saved her $135 a month. And I bet that price is almost double now. But she's actually done other things too. Amy had kidney issues, and her doctor had told her that she was supposed to go on dialysis the next time she came in to visit. She had started working with herbs and kidney supportive herbs, just from getting information from the tribe group and just talking with herbalists in the group. And what ended up happening was when she went back to her doctor, thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get on the dialysis, the doctor was shocked and he told her, you've actually backed up and into stage 3 and you're not going to have to go on dialysis. So yay. It was really like we were all applauding her. Woo. It was these herbal wins happen over and over and over. But anyway, she goes on to say, herbs have changed my life and are helping my husband and I to get healthy. This journey is a blessing. The herbal journey is a blessing, you guys. So you might be wondering, how do you get your safe, effective, natural home medicine chest together quickly and easily? And you guys, that's what Ditch the Drugstore is all about. It's about quickly and easily, okay? From being complicated and confusing, which is where I was when I started, now I show people how to do it simply and strategically. You may not know this. I was a school teacher for over 30 years of my life, and I know how to teach people, and I love teaching. It's my heart. Anyway, the answer to this is Ditch the Drugstore. I created Ditch the Drugstore specifically, you guys, to fast track your herbal journey so that you can actually get a home apothecary that works for you, so that you can actually start learning herbalism in a safe place, in a safe way, and in a way that makes you feel confident with it. And I'm really big on safety. So we talk about, herbal safety all the time, and essential oil safety, absolutely. So that's a thing there. Anyway, so this is Ditch the Drugstore, and I'm not sure what the next slide is here. Yes, there is a guarantee. I want to go ahead and talk about this slide for a minute. This picture doesn't show everything that's in Ditch the Drugstore by any means, but it is $297. There are 2 payment plans. And the way it's set up, you guys, it's in phases. So it's 6 intensive weeks. And I'm just going to say that right up front. If you want to go through it intensively, if you want to take your time, you can take your time. And once you pay for the course, you own the course. You never have to buy it again to go through future rounds. I keep getting asked that question still. You don't have to buy it again. Once you own it, you can go through this round, or you can save it and go through the next round, or you can go through this round and the next round and the next round. I have students who've been through all the 4 rounds that we've done so far before. They've joined in with all of the student groups. And I have other students who've been through it once or twice. It's totally up to you. And you can work as quickly or as slowly as you want to. So you guys, the knowledge, the real value of this is that it's priceless. But here's how it works. In the first stage, you learn about safety, you learn about medicine making, you learn about dosing for different family members. You learn how to use essential oils safely and well. And again, this is a lot of information, but you can take your time with it if you want to, or depending on where you're at with all of this, some people learn it really fast. And then you put a plan together for your home apothecary. So I've created a workbook. It's not long, but it's impactful, because what it does is it allows you to think about your specific family members, and then you lay out a specific plan and you prioritize the things you want to make in your plan, and then you go ahead and get started. Okay, so that's phase 1. The next phase is when you dig into all the recipes. So I want to show you some of the books that are in here. You've got the main recipe book, which I want to say this was when I got Ditch the Drugstore going. All right, I've been learning herbalism and doing herbalism for a long, long time. So I had lost that beginner's mind at that point. When I saw students struggling and I wasn't sure why. But that first round of Ditch the Drugstore, and the second round too, actually, students, I had a little skeleton of the remedies, but students actually helped me put this together and helped me decide what they needed. So this book, this Ditch the Drugstore, is made by students for students. Okay, so I've got pain relieving remedies, seasonal allergies and cold and flu, respiratory remedies, tons of those. Stress, sleep, and relaxation, basic first aid, female complaints, digestion and elimination. So that would be constipation and stomach issues and diarrhea, common skin conditions, a miscellaneous section, and then there's a special section on boosting your immune system. On top of that, oh, and by the way, that book is fully indexed so that you can look for recipes with the by herb or by ailment. Okay. One of the bonuses that I have available for you is my course, Healing Herbs of the Bible, which also has recipes. These are kind of specialty herbs, but it's fun to look at. The Ultimate Essential Oil Reference Guide comes with this. It's got dilution charts and information for all populations of people, babies all the way up through elders, including pregnant women and nursing women too. Herbal dosing and guidelines for adults and children. Kitchen spices for whole body health. A lot of people, you guys can make an apothecary with kitchen spices. Yep, all the books are included in the class, Andrea. Absolutely. Natural first aid. They're digital books that are included. But yes, they are all included. This one has been a big seller on my website for years. This is my herbal salves, oils, butters, and balms recipe book, and it's got some really fun recipes in there. I've got a special book for specifically for cold and flu care. All right. And when I wrote I wrote this years ago, but I wrote it with the idea that we need to protect our immune system to start off with. We want to try not to get sick in the first place, right? So it starts off with that phase, and then it starts off the next phase. What if you start getting sick? What do you do? And then if you've got a full blown cold or flu, what do you do then? So it's got that section. And then finally, the recovery section. Recovery is very important because what people will often do is they start feeling better and then they stop taking their herbs and they stop getting their rest and then they get sick again. So we talk about that as well. And then, you guys, we wrap it up with the graduation and we share. And everybody is so supportive. So even if you haven't been able to do a whole lot, it's okay. Maybe you've been a person who you've put this full apothecary together and it's gorgeous. That's okay. So that's what the flow is at any rate. At this point, oh, and I want to just talk about live chats. So we do live chats. In the previous renditions of Ditch the Drugstore, I met with students once a week, answered their questions, and then everybody got the replays, which are in the course materials, and they're also in the student group. All right, those replays are gold. All right, they're gold. And we just bought software so that they're all searchable now. So if you have a question and I'm not able to answer it, or you can't get into the chat and ask, you can go ahead and just write the search term and the video will pop up in that place where we're talking about that topic and there's a transcript. So it's a very, very valuable. This course is worth way more than $297 in the big scheme of things. Yeah, and our costs are going up. The price is likely to go up, but it's very, very, it's wonderful. You've got all the course materials and you've got the student group. I do have a money back guarantee. So you can take a look at it over a period of 5 days. If you decide it's not for you, you can ask for a refund. It is a digital product, so that's why the time period's pretty short. And it is such a good feeling when you can go in your kitchen and you can pour yourself your cup of herbal tea that you know is going to do what you want it to do. So I just want to say this is a quote. Wanting change is step one. If you wouldn't be here if you didn't want that change in your life. But you guys, you've got to take action, right? If you don't take action, you're going to be in the same spot 6 months from now or 5 years from now that you are right now. Okay. You've got to take action at some point. I know for me, when I ran across that book in the feed store, it wasn't the kind of book I usually bought at that point, but I picked it up and I was like, maybe this will help. And I tried it. And yes, it wasn't very expensive, but it was my little tiny taste into herbalism. And then I dived into a course after that. and I took Rosemary Gladstar's course. Was the very, very first one I took before she even had it online. And I'm so grateful I made that decision. My life would be very different right now if I hadn't. I would be sick. I would be sick, and I would be on tons of medications, and I would probably um, maybe I'd even be dead. I don't know, but I feel so much better now. Oh, let me go back to that slide. This is where you can get your free book, you guys, that goes with all this. So if you go to this link, https:// bit.ly/5 herbs book, you'll get to the link where you can get the book. Okay. All right. And then if you want to find out more about Ditch the Drugstore, there's the link to Ditch the Drugstore. Here are just some statements that some of my students have made. There's many, many more on the information page. Lou says, take the course. It is very empowering to realize you can provide safe and effective medicine for your family that you made yourself. Courtney says, this course has changed my life. And it changes lives, you guys. You'll be astonished at what you can accomplish. Sandy has been a student of mine for since I started this, well over 3 years now. She says that we have just not been sick since we started using herbs regularly. Her husband had some very, very serious respiratory issues, asthma. I don't know if it was full on COPD, but he really struggled, and she's been able to figure out a lot of their health problems. It's been pretty amazing watching her evolve as an herbalist. And many other students as well. All right, and that's it for the course. And let me, I don't know, I guess Joe's putting the links in. Uh-oh. All right, I'm going to copy the URL here. Not letting me copy it from my mouse. I will do it right here. And then I'm going to go back to the chat and try to answer questions, okay? Let's see here. Here's the link to the book. And if you want to check out Ditch the Drugstore, which I think you should, especially if you sat through this whole thing, just give it a look. There's a lot more information in there than I shared with you here, but it's so worth it, you guys. It is so worth it for that price. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can scroll back up in the chat. Do that here. Oh, good, I can. Okay. I'm just gonna, the chat's pretty long. So let's see here. See if I can find questions. Oh, Pauline says, I showed up because I believe in you and want to learn more. Awesome. Oh, this is why you guys all showed up here. I know we all have our reasons. And you guys, I believe this. When you are presented with an opportunity, do you have that feeling in your stomach that says, do it, do it, do it? And then if you don't, have you ever been like totally kicking yourself when you didn't? I know I listen to that gut feeling. Sandy says, I showed up to learn more about herbalism. I'm tired of taking so many medications, most of which I don't even know what they are for. I know you go to the doctor, they tell you you have to be put on something. I had the doctor who put me on blood pressure medicines back in the day. He laughed at me when I asked him if I could just, lose some weight and try some lifestyle changes. He laughed at me. He laughed out loud. And I was like, oh boy. And then when I asked him, he told me he was going to put me on a statin drug. And I said, no, I'm not taking a statin. I knew enough about statins at that point to say absolutely not. But I asked him for my cholesterol numbers. Turns out my good cholesterol was high and my bad cholesterol was like borderline. And so I made some lifestyle changes and took care of it. But anyway, yeah, they are just taught by the pharmaceutical companies and agents that go in and give them their drugs that they just, here, take a pill. And by the way, I have medical professionals in my family, quite a few of them, as a matter of fact. And we have some healthy discussions. And I'm not against doctors. In fact, my youngest child, who is almost 27, she's in medical school. She's going to be a doctor. But I have to tell you this: she's done a lot of my herbal research for me over the years, and it's opened her mind to herbs and clinical studies and things like that. So it's fun. Oh, Carla says, this is so needed. I'm a certified aromatherapist, but I keep gravitating to herbalism. So I want to expand my knowledge, and I believe herbs can be friendly to my family and grandkids in a way they can use for years to come. Carla, absolutely. If you're still here, I just want to mention that a lot of herbalists out there, they don't like essential oils. They kind of poo poo them. And a lot of aromatherapists don't like herbs. They poo poo them. But I will tell you right now that if you think about this for a moment, this is a tincture, it's an herbal extract. This is an essential oil, it's an herbal extract. So they're both herbal extracts. And if you know how to use them together, you are super powerful, because herbal preparations, in fact, like this balm of Gilead, it contains both herbs and essential oils, and it just powers up the recipe like no tomorrow. So, yeah, it's just pretty amazing. What is better to use, German or Roman chamomile? Okay, so they're similar in some ways, but they're different too. So I could go into a big long teaching thing on the chamomiles, but I'm just going to keep it real short. German chamomile, I love to use for inflammation and pain. That's my favorite for inflammation and pain. I like using Roman chamomile more for sleep and relaxation. When I'm working with children, oftentimes I like to choose Roman chamomile, generally speaking. And does it matter what kind of thyme, Debbie says? You know what? As long as it's Thymus vulgaris. Now, okay, so these are the Latin names of the plants. And um, when people get into herbalism, usually we just kind of poo poo the Latin names of the plants because we're not really familiar with them, but they're very important. So some plants you must have the right species, and that's what the Latin name tells us. All right, you guys, I'm just trying to look for other questions that will have a lot of relevance for the people left here, because I have to go in just a minute. Um, let's see here. Beverly says, do I use whole garlic? I do use whole garlic. Oh, what was in my diffuser mix again? So Kathy, what I like to diffuse, I have lots of things I like to diffuse, but when I have to do some really heavy duty thinking, I put this in one of my newsletters. I think it was last week's newsletter. I shared this recipe, but it's lemon essential oil, and that's the primary ingredient. And then a couple drops of sage, a couple drops of rosemary, and a couple, 2, 3 drops of coriander. Coriander actually has a chemical called linalool in it, and linalool is very calming, but not to the point that it makes you go to sleep. So I really love this combination. Rosemary is stimulating in a good way for your brain. Linalool keeps you calm and focused. Sage is really good for your memory, and so is rosemary, by the way. And lemon is uplifting. The citrus oils contain a chemical called limonene, and limonene actually works on the emotional center in your brain, the limbic system, and it lifts your mood. So, how many of you have ever been studying for a test and you're just like, oh, grumpy? The citrus oils can really be helpful for that. All right, let's see if I see any other questions here. Oh, one thing I want to mention about Ditch the Drugstore too, just because I get this question, will it help me with diabetes? Will it help me with blood pressure? Will it help me? So you guys, yes, and yeah, and yes and no. Okay, so a student like Cindy or Amy or Sandy who goes through Ditch the Drugstore, or Matt, actually, a lot of people who turn to herbalism have medical issues or health issues they want to work with, right? So they'll get into this with the idea of, I want to solve this problem. Now, ditch the drugstore. You might be able to do that in ditch the drugstore, but I can't make any promises because ditch the drugstore truly is about creating your home apothecary and getting it up and going so that you are ready for anything. One of my students, Jen, said that she really couldn't think of any single thing that she would ever have to go to the drugstore to buy, after taking this course. So, with that said, when you start learning the herbalism and the aromatherapy that is presented in the course, most students end up taking it further and really learning about their bodies. Learning herbalism is really your first, for many of us anyway, experience in thinking about yourself as a whole being instead of just symptoms. And it's pretty neat when you start doing that. But with that said, it's not, I'm not a medical doctor. I am not giving medical advice, and ditch the drugstore is not for medical things. And also, I need to tell you that because the FDA, of course, wants me to. So all herbalists should be having some kind of disclaimer like that, by the way. Oh dear. Sentence there. It's not letting me back in, I'm afraid. Can I type a chat? Oh, Carla says we hear you. Okay. Um, I'm so sorry. Well, guys, I don't know why I can't get back in here video wise, but I am here. And oh yeah, Deb says I turn to herbs because I'm afraid of the future and the supply, yeah, issues for sure, for sure. Well, anyway, you guys, I did. Yeah, I pushed the button and and that's what happened. But anyway, there's the link to ditch the drugstore again. And oops, now I can't even scroll back up in the chat either. Okay. Guys, I can't see any of the questions now. So if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in really quickly and I will try to answer them. And once this is over, if you have other questions that you have or want me to answer, just reach out to me. If you're in the natural living community, you can private chat me or Joe or even other students if you want to. When does Ditch the Drugstore begin? Okay, so the 6-week period begins Saturday. This coming Saturday, the 8th, we're going to do our welcome and orientation chat, and that event is already inside the student group with the Zoom link. And basically, I'm just going to walk you through how to get around in the course materials, and we're going to get very excited about getting these apothecaries done. So, I think you're going to really enjoy that first chat. And then the second question and answer chat will be 2 weeks from that point, because I want you to dive in. What I noticed was the first question answer chat that we have, if I do it that first week, people are still trying to figure out what they're doing. Oh, I'm holding this up like you can see me. But I want you to take time and go through that family apothecary guide. Please don't skip that step. It's really, really important because you want to have a plan. Let's see here. And what time? The orientation is at, I think it's at 9 o'clock Pacific time. Okay. So that would be 10 o'clock Mountain, 11 o'clock Central, and noon Eastern time. And yes, Carol, you should get an email that has a link for the replay in it. Yeah, Connie says, my sister works at a desk and sitting in her chair all day makes her feet swell. Yeah. And turn red. She said they are tingly and feel red hot, and when her sheet touches them at night, it hurts like a rug burn. Oh no. When she rubs them, they feel cold. I was wondering if a foot, yeah, she's got some circulation things going on. I was wondering if a foot bath with essential oils and Epsom salt would help. Yes, absolutely. What essential oils would be best? Or any other ideas? Connie, I have a really good foot soak recipe on YouTube. Okay, so go to my YouTube channel and just do a search on my channel, and I show you how to use it and put it together. It's pretty simple to make, and it really works well. I actually used that for my mom last winter. I was really worried. I thought looked like her feet looked like she had uh, frostbite at one point. And so we started using that with her, and then massage. There's warming massage oils. I do think I have a video on that too. But you know what? If you, Connie, and I think you are in Ditch the Drugstore already, right? But this is one of the things you can ask about, you guys. If you have conditions for people in your family that you need help with, I will help you formulate um, for these specific needs. Again, we're not talking about prescription replacements or things like that, but I can help formulate for something like this for circulation and, just supporting general overall wellness. Oh, good. Yeah, Carla, thank you for being in the tribe and the Ditch the Drugstore. Thanks, Deb. I appreciate that. Let's see here, you guys. So if you can't make it on Saturday, that's okay. What I do is I do a recording of it, and then that recording gets put into the student group, and there's a special section there for the video replays, and you can also get it. Usually I put it in the course materials. I think the one that's in there right now is from last March, and it's really a good one. It's a replay of the orientation. So if you miss it, you've got those replays. So, oh, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, there are 97 videos altogether, but the orientation is definitely one of them. Also, inside the student community, there are welcome videos that you can watch too. And if you have trouble getting around between the course materials in the school and the student community, there are people who can help you. All right, I'm there to help you. Joe's amazing. He's always in there helping. And so is Cindy. She's always in there helping. Manette, always in there helping. There are people who are just like there. And that's because people really, really love the group. Robin, the replays are in the topic area inside the Ditch the Drugstore student group that says replays. So if you look there, you'll find all of the replays in there. Okay. Carol says, how often do I do the Ditch the Drugstore course? Carol, 2 or 3 times a year. It just depends on my schedule. And I just want to say this too. If you are thinking about whether or not to get it right now, I would say if you're on the fence to go ahead and if you're thinking in the future, well, I think I'll take it next time. The price may go up. It's likely to go up. This course is massively packed with information, and I pour my heart and soul into this because I want my students to be successful. I really have a mission and a purpose to get a home herbalist in every extended family. It's that important. So if you're on the fence, if you're debating whether or not to do this, I would highly suggest to search your heart. And if you really want to learn herbalism, dive in right now, because this is the time. Honestly, I don't think I got a chance to show you the picture of the drugstore shelves, but Joe's getting ready to put a YouTube video out. We actually videoed the shelves, so you can look on it there. But really, the time is now. There is no better time. And again, if you don't do it now, when is it going to happen? It's just time to start. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank you all so much for being here and for hanging in there through the technical difficulties. I appreciate you so very much. And hopefully I'll see you inside Ditch the Drugstore. But if it's not time for you, that's okay. When I open it again in the early spring, hopefully that's when I'm kind of planning on doing it, then you can join us at that time too. But I just say now's the time. Things are changing in our world so quickly. And, again, if not now, then when? So, all right, you guys, I am going to go ahead and sign off. And I hope I see you inside. And I love you all. All right. Bye bye.